So let me ask you a question. Do you like delicious, crispy chicken wings? The kind of crunchy wings that have a big old punch of tasty? Or how about really flavorful pork tenderloin? The kind that has been seasoned to perfection and is so tender you can slice it with a fork. Or maybe you really prefer juicy roasted chicken with crunchy and savory skin, the kind that will make the entire house smell good as it bakes. If so, you're in the right place because all of these dishes begin with one thing, and that's great seasoning, which is why we created JoJo Rub for chicken and pork. This seasoning started with a dream to make tasty, crunchy chicken wings without using a fryer. In order to do that, we needed a dry rub that would help draw out the moisture from the wings as they cook. As a matter of fact, our chicken wing videos are some of our most popular videos on YouTube. Check them out. But in addition to making a tasty rub, we also wanted a simple seasoning that everyone could make using spices found at any dollar store. Our solution for this is JoJo Rub. The interns, aka my kids, came up with the name. I hope you like it. And no, it's not available for purchase in any store because we're giving it away for free right here in this video. You cannot order it online, and no, we will not send it to you. If you want to buy pre-made seasoning, the store shelves are filled with marinades, sauces, and seasonings of every kind. As I mentioned, this is a really simple way to make a great seasoning. We're using 1 tablespoon of paprika, a half a tablespoon of ground black pepper, 1.5 tablespoons of seasoned salt, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and a half a tablespoon of dry mustard powder. Now all we have to do is mix it up. And you can really get creative here and use variations that you like. For example, if you're looking to add a little bit more zing with your wing, you can substitute a half a tablespoon of black pepper for a full tablespoon, or even better, substitute the pepper with cayenne or chipotle to really turn up the heat. If you've used JoJo Rub at home, we would love to hear from you in the comments below. Did you love it or just like it? So you don't have to go looking through our vids. We've included the full video recipes using JoJo Rub at the end of this intro. Let's get to the goods. Today we're making chicken wings, so yes, we're gonna need some wings. Here I have 4 pounds, which have been pre-trimmed to remove the wing tips, which I just reserved for soup. You can trim them, not trim them, buy them pre-cut. I don't even care because they're gonna turn out great no matter what you do with them. Next, you wanna preheat the oven to 250 degrees and get that warming up while we get ready to season these. Also, one more tip. You want to go ahead and prepare your baking pans right now. As you can see, I have these baking racks on top. We do not want to put the wings directly on the foil. So, let's get seasoning. Okay, to season these, the first thing we're going to need is just a little bit of flour. I have a half a tablespoon here. Next, we're going to need some JoJo Rub. This is 3.5 tablespoons of a simple rub we created ourselves, found using common ingredients found in most kitchens. It's really easy to make, but you can also substitute it with whatever seasoning you like. And finally, we're going to need 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder, not baking soda. And this is the real key to getting the chicken skin with that crispity, crunchity exterior. What this does is it actually changes the pH balance of the chicken skin as it cooks, or something like that. Look, I don't really know, but I know that it works, and it's science, man. So if you don't believe me, go check it out on your Google machine. But we're gonna wanna mix all these together and just liberally coat these wings right before we put them in the oven. Let's get going. Okay, so now let's get this mixture on the wings. And what we wanna do is just try to thoroughly coat them as best as we can. Dust a little bit on top. Then you can really use your hand, or you can use a fork, or whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm gonna use my hand. I'm gonna use all this seasoning here today. So let's just go ahead and get these mixed up and continue the process until we get it thoroughly coated on all sides. We want these seasoned liberally as well. So now that I have these wings thoroughly coated, 3 or 4 times I've mixed them up, fully seasoned, let's just go ahead and get them on the rack. Yeah, you wanna make sure that these are spaced out enough to make sure that they're not quite touching each other. Let the air circulate around them as they cook. And I can't get them all on one pan, so I actually have 2 set up here. I'd rather use 2 than try to put too many on one rack. All right, now that these wings are seasoned, it's time to get them in the oven. As I said, we're gonna put them in at 250 degrees, and this low temperature is gonna help render some of the fat from the wings as they cook. We're gonna leave them in there for about 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, we're gonna turn up the temperature to 425 degrees. And this is where the wings are gonna get really crispy. We're gonna leave them in there for about another 40 to 45 minutes. Look, it's an easy recipe, but it ain't fast. While your wings are cooking, you can indulge in your unhealthy drinking habits, watch the big game on TV, or my favorite, search for conspiracy theories online. All right, these wings took about an hour and 10 minutes total cooking. As I said earlier, it's not fast, but it's totally worth it. And they smell absolutely amazing. So you can make these plain as I've made them or coat them in your favorite sauce. They're gonna taste absolutely great. I'd be proud to serve these anytime, and you should too. Chicken thighs are perfect for backyard barbecues because they're relatively inexpensive. I can find these for about 99 cents a pound, and they're a great alternative to hamburgers. Now you can use boneless or bone-in thighs for this recipe, but either way, I recommend you remove the skin. It's really fatty, will cause a lot of flare-ups, and it's just really difficult to get crispy unless you're flipping it a lot or using some kind of indirect heat. So I just removed it, and I use it for chicken stock. So again, while you can cook them bone-in or boneless, I really prefer boneless because it promotes a quicker cooking and more evenly cooked product. Just one other quick note, there's a smooth side and a rough side to the chicken thigh. So I like to cook these when I put them down. I'll put the smooth side down. This is going to be the nice presentation side. But let's talk about seasoning these. You can really season them however you want. As a matter of fact, marinades are really great for this because there's a lot of nooks and crannies on the not smooth side where the flavor can hide. Marinating is great, but sometimes it can take a lot of time, and I just want to get these on the grill and in my belly as fast as possible. So today, I'm just going to season them with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and some JoJo Rub. Now you can find our JoJo Rub by clicking on our website at redmeatlover.com and going in the upper right-hand corner search box and searching for JoJo Rub. That's J-O-J-O Rub. It's a combination of spices that are commonly found in most household kitchens, and it's a great accoutrement for cooking chicken or pork. You want to get them thoroughly coated so that we don't see any more white on the chicken. Okay, now that this is thoroughly coated with seasoning, let's head outside and put them on the grill. Okay, so now we have our fire going. This is jumbo lump charcoal, all natural, and a kettle grill. Now when you're cooking chicken thighs over an open fire like this, there's a ton of variables. How hot is the fire? How close is the fire to the food? You know, look, this is really more of an art than it is a science. So you'll have to practice, but we're just gonna feel what's the hottest part of the grill. It's right down here, down the middle. So we're gonna put the chicken down, and we're gonna put the smooth side down first. Remember, that's our presentation side, so that's where we wanna get those nice sear marks. My best tip to you is develop a system for putting these down. So I always start at the top, I work my way down over the hottest part of the grill, and then I fill in around the exterior. Now we don't want burnt chicken, so if you start to get a lot of flare-ups, go ahead and put that dome on and cool the fire down just a little bit. Now that I have those down the middle, I'm gonna go around the outside. And we're just gonna let these cook for about 2 minutes before we flip them. Quick note on flipping. Unlike steak or hamburgers, where we only want you to flip it once, maybe twice, go ahead and feel free to flip these about 3 or 4 times. That's going to promote caramelization and really help kick up the flavor profile on these tasty birds. Okay, these have been on for 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and flip them now. I don't want them to burn. And look at that, we're already getting some nice color. Again, I remember the way I put them down, and I'm just going to flip them in that same exact order. Look at that awesome color, that awesome char. That's exactly what we're looking for. Because I always put down the chicken thighs down the same way, I know that I put this one down, then this, Now we're gonna come over here, get this flipped. Now this is a real thin part, and this is a cool part of the fire, so I wanna keep this thick part over the fire. That's gonna take the longest to cook. Just a little tip to think about as you're cooking these. As you can see, we're getting some flare-ups right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw the dome down, come back in about another 2 minutes. Okay, so these have been on here for another 2 minutes. As you can see, this is clearly the hottest part of the fire. This bird is getting a little bit more color, while this one is getting a little bit less. This is clearly the cooler part of the fire. So I'm gonna go ahead and rotate these off. Whoa, look at that flame. Here we go. We're gonna come back over here, flip that side down, let that get some color. You can see this is another very hot part of the grill based upon the color this is getting. We're just gonna go ahead and move this to the outside to a little bit cooler part. As I mentioned earlier, that thick part of the thigh is still over the flame. So think about that as you rotate these out. Here's another one. We're gonna go ahead and get that one on the inside right there. You can see it didn't get nearly as hot as some of the other ones did. Okay, they've been down for about another 2 minutes. I was getting a lot of flare-ups, so I had the lid down, but as you can see, it's still really hot. What I don't want to do is I don't want to burn these, and I'd rather flip them too much than serve my guests burnt chicken. So again, this still continues to be the hottest part of the grill. I'm actually going to rotate this out with this bottom piece right here, get some color on that smooth side right there. And these are grilling up perfectly, as you can see. Okay, so we just flipped these for the 4th time, and they got about another 4 or 5 minutes of cooking. I just want to take a moment to talk about proper internal temperature. USDA recommends an internal temperature minimum of 165 degrees. I don't like these when they're cooked to 165 degrees. It's a very soft texture. So I like to really cook them at a higher temperature of 180, 185 degrees. Really firms up the texture and makes for a much more tasty chicken, in my opinion. Okay, so these have been cooking now for about 13 minutes and they're done. How do I know that they're done? Well, I can feel, and I can also tell that they are completely white all the way throughout. And that's how you can tell, but if you're unsure, I'll tell you this, you can never go wrong with an instant read thermometer. Go ahead and use that. You'd rather be safe than sorry with chicken. So we're gonna pull these off. As I pull these off, I just wanna mention one other note on food safety. You'll see that these are not the same tongs I used to put down the raw chicken. I switched them out halfway through the video because they touched raw chicken and this is fully cooked chicken. I don't want to cross-contaminate. So again, these are new tongs and I recommend you do the same. Better safe than sorry. Hey everybody, we're back inside now and thank goodness because it is incredibly hot outside, about 100 degrees. But we're ready to check out this chicken, so let's take a look. And as you can see right here, it's basically fork tender. White and tasty all the way throughout. Those grill marks give it a lot of good flavor. Chicken doesn't really need much introduction at all because chickens actually outnumber people by about a 3-to-1 ratio. That means no matter where you're located around the globe, chicken is likely available in the market. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we have this full bird right here, totally intact. And what you should do is try to brine your bird the night before. Either wet brine it, submerged in water, or dry brine it, covered in salt. But if you're absolutely terrible at meal planning like I am, then brining might not be the best option when you're hungry right now. Just know that brining your bird can help turn up the tasting. One of the most annoying parts about cooking this entire chicken is the unpredictable cooking times. You see the white meat right here cooks at a faster temperature than this dark meat right here. So our solution to that is we're going to butterfly the chicken and remove this backbone. That's a technique called spatchcocking. Yeah, I know, try not to laugh, but the benefits of this technique are that we lay out the chicken evenly and that allows more predictable cooking times with even crispier skin. That's truly the best part. So to remove the backbone, here it is. It runs from tail to where the neck was. We have some kitchen shears, and we're just gonna remove about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch on both sides and get that out of there.
So once you have the backbone removed, what you want to do is just press down nice and hard right here until you hear that crack in half, and you'll know it lays out perfectly flat. Also, I go ahead and just reserve this as well as the organs of the chicken to make some really incredible chicken stock. So let me go ahead and wash my hands, and we'll be right back to make some incredible seasoning. Another way to turn up the tasty on your bird is to make your own garlic herb butter. I don't really have a set recipe for this, but what I do have is some butter. This has been sitting out for about an hour. It's nice and soft, so we're just gonna go ahead and get it in there. The other thing I have is just some fresh herbs that I had sitting around the house. This is just some rosemary, sage, and thyme. Use whatever you have, and if you don't have fresh herbs, use dried herbs. They work out just well also. Next, we're just gonna go ahead and add about a half tablespoon of olive oil to this. And this will make sure it just stays nice and pliable. What we're really looking for is something that's closer to a paste with this. So next, we're just gonna get in there with our fork, and we're gonna mix it all up. In order to get this butter underneath the skin, what we first need to do is create some separation between the meat and the skin. So we're just gonna get our fingers underneath there. We don't wanna totally remove it, just create some space underneath there, right by the chicken breast. And then we're also gonna do it down here by the chicken thighs, right here. And go ahead and create that separation. Again, don't totally remove it. It is a little messy, but it's fun. That's part of cooking. You'll notice that I just removed a little bit of the chicken skin right around here. There was just a ton of it. I personally don't like chicken skin unless it's really nice and crispy. You can leave it on or remove it. No big deal if you remove it. It's great to add with the backbone to make some amazing chicken stock. So let's go ahead and keep this moving along. Get that butter underneath there. Just like that. And I don't try to get it too far in. I just get a nice lump right underneath the skin. And then I just kind of work it through with my fingers. All right, that is gonna help spread it down the back of the breast and get it in there really nice and good. Hey, don't be shy with that butter. You know, it can never use too much. It's just gonna really add some incredible flavors. Next, we're gonna do it down here, right here by the chicken thighs. And again, just get a lump of that butter in there and then just massage it around with your hands. It's super easy. And if you have kids, it's really a lot of fun. They'll really enjoy this part. Now we got that. Next thing we're gonna do is continue to get messy and just get this butter just like this and just rub it really nice and thick around on the outside. And that's part of the reason why I like to add that olive oil. It just makes this nice and pliable. Want to get it around the wings. The chicken skin on these wings is gonna be so tasty. You're really gonna love it. Go ahead and get it around there, all the way down here on the thighs and the legs. Okay, this is almost ready to go in the oven and cook to absolute perfection, but one more small step you can use or not use, it's up to you. I have a little leftover butter and I don't want to let that go to waste. So what I have is some vegetables here, some potatoes and some carrots. I'm just gonna go ahead and get those in the bowl with the butter, mix that up with a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna place these around the chicken as it cooks for a truly one pot meal. Once you have your vegetables all mixed up, just go ahead and range them around the pan as best as possible. A little on both sides, all over. Just lay those out nice flat, make them pretty, and just do your best you can. It's not ever gonna be perfect. Just get it in there, they'll all cook and turn out just great, no matter how they're arranged. Now this chicken is almost ready to go in the oven. We just need to season it. And today, I'm using JoJo Rub. This is a simple rub we created using common ingredients in our kitchen. They're probably in yours too. We've included the link in the description below if you want to try it yourself, or you can just really use whatever you like. But we're gonna coat this chicken liberally with seasoning and just help turn up the flavor profile on it as it cooks. You'll notice that we're gonna get it over the vegetables too. If you dry brined your chicken the night before, you won't want to add any salt to this, especially if you dry brined it using salt, it will be plenty salty. So now that we have this seasoned, let's go ahead and get it in the oven. We have the oven preheating to 425 degrees. And we're gonna cook it in here until it reaches an internal temperature of 160 degrees in the thickest part of the chicken. The exact cooking time will vary depending upon the size of the chicken. This is about a 5.5 pound bird, so we'll just see how long it takes, anywhere from about 45 to 60 minutes. It's a tasty recipe, but it's not quick. It's definitely worth the wait. So while this is cooking, you can grab yourself a beer, throw a bet on the big game, or my favorite, try to solve that math equation from It's a Beautiful Mind. All right, so the easiest way to cut this first is just to remove these leg quarters. You literally just cut right through here. There's no connective bone, so it's super easy. Just get it right on both sides. It cuts away really easy. The next part I like to do is the wings, and it really helps if you're kind of facing this way. Now there is a bone that connects right here, so it's gonna take a little bit more knife work to go ahead and get through there, but basically it's right over here. You just kind of cut it at an angle and you'll get some nice wing pieces right there. When you cut these breasts, you're gonna wanna cut right through the breastbone right here. It takes a little work with your knife, but it's super simple. You can cut it that way, or you can carve away the breast for some beautiful slices. All right, so this chicken took 55 minutes to cook, and it hit an internal temperature of 162 degrees right before I pulled it out. That's perfect because the heat is actually going to rise as it rests, about 5 degrees, which is ideal because perfectly cooked chicken is done at 165 degrees. So the next thing I did was I let this rest for about 10 minutes before I cut into it. If you cut into it right away, you're gonna lose all that awesome meat nectar. You're gonna have a little lake sitting here on your cutting board. So it's a difficult part, especially with how good it smells, but be sure to let this rest. Next, I went ahead and cut the chicken. Here we have 2 chicken breasts, 2 chicken wings, and leg quarters. That includes both the thigh over here as well as the chicken leg over here. You really should learn how to make this recipe because it's an easy way to cook meat that's fairly lean, high in protein, and this chicken can take on a variety of flavors really well. Also, you should learn how to cook something tasty for yourself. It's kind of an important life skill. I recently bought this Sous vide machine and I've been trying out a lot of new recipes. Today, I'm excited to share the Sous vide pork chops with you because I am absolutely blown away by the results. Seriously, they are the most tender chops I've ever had, hands down, and that's not hyperbole, that's the truth. Today, we're using thick-cut, boneless loin chops. See, we bought a full pork loin and hand-cut these a little over an inch thick. Because they're really lean cuts of pork, they can easily dry out using traditional cooking methods. I'm sure you've had that happen to you before, but that's where this method comes in really handy. We've seasoned these using JoJo Rub, and we've included a link in the description below. But you can really use whatever you like. I mean, whatever suits your palate, go ahead and use that. Next, we threw in some butter and some thyme, and we sealed these using our vacuum sealer. Seriously, these are going to be absolutely fantastic. You'll thank me later. Sous vide is a French term that means under vacuum. It's basically a warm little meat bath, if you will, where the machine controls the temperature of the water in here for a sustained period of time, which then cooks the meat. It's called science. You can Google it. Let me show you what I mean. You can attach this machine to nearly anything that holds water, but today we're using this small cooler because the cooler retains heat really well. We're gonna set this machine to 140 degrees. So now all we need to do is place these chops into their little meat bath right here, clip them to the side, and I do that so the bag doesn't interact with the machine, and that's it. You can grab a beer or a smooth bourbon, watch the game, and hang out. All right, these have been cooking now for 3 hours, and as you can see, they don't look really pretty. They're missing that great sear on the outside. That's called the Maillard effect. That's when we get that great caramelization on the exterior. Don't worry, we're gonna get it on there by searing these really quickly, about 30 to 45 seconds per side in the cast iron skillet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some of this olive oil, get it added to the skillet, about a tablespoon, not too much, and let that get nice and hot. While that's waiting to heat up, I'm gonna go ahead and pat these dry with a paper towel. And I'm just gonna also add just a little bit more seasoning. A lot of it ran out with those juices, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more on there to both sides.
This is gonna take a few minutes to get blazing hot. We really wanna see that smoke coming off the top. We wanna get it nice here because we're only searing them for a very short amount of time. So while I'm waiting for this to heat up, I'll just have a drink. So let's go ahead and drop these guys on here. Love that sound. That sound right there is the sound of tasty. All right, we're gonna let those cook for 30 seconds on this side. Then we're gonna flip them and let them cook for another 30 seconds. And then we're gonna make sure that we sear the fat cap and the sides as best as we can to get that awesome sear all over it. All right, so they're seared on all sides and we're ready to dig right in. The very best part about this technique is that you don't have to let your meat rest when it's done cooking. We can cut right in and we don't have to worry about losing all the meat juices like we do with traditional cooking methods. This is my favorite way to make pork chops now. And if you don't own a sous vide machine, I suggest you consider adding one to your kitchen. But now let's cut in and see how they look. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to try these out, see how they taste. They're gonna be terrific. Pork tenderloin, like its cousin the beef tenderloin, is not surprisingly very tender. As such, it is one of the most desired and most expensive cuts of meat. The pork tenderloin typically weighs somewhere between 3/4 and 1.5 pounds and is completely boneless. It is also a very lean cut of meat. The fact that it is lean is important for two reasons. One, because it doesn't have a lot of natural fat to it, you will need to season it liberally to promote flavor. Also, because it is lean, it can overcook and dry out very easily. Now, we're almost ready to get cooking, but before we do, we need to go ahead and remove this tough silver skin. It's inedible, and this fat will not render as it cooks. It's not that it's bad, it just tastes a little bit gummy if you leave it on. So although the butcher may do it for you, if not, let's just go ahead and cut this part off. If you get some of the meat, don't worry about it because there's still plenty left. The rest of the fat on here you can trim up if you like, but it is very edible. It will render and it will taste delicious as it cooks. Now that it is trimmed, let it rest for about 15 or 30 minutes before cooking it. You can go ahead and season it before it rests or after, whatever works for you. But speaking of seasoning, this cut of meat can take on a wide variety of flavors very naturally. You can buy a store-bought marinade or rub, or I like to make my own. So to begin, I'll just pat off any excess moisture with a paper towel. Next, I take just a little bit of olive oil, get that nicely coated into the meat. Once that's done, I take and hit it with some of our fiery redhead rub. It's a simple rub made from various spices that can be found on our website by clicking the link on your screen now. Don't be afraid to season it liberally, again, because it's a lean cut of meat, it will need a little help picking up the flavor. Although there's a variety of ways you can cook pork tenderloin, today I'll be baking this beast in the oven. Although any type of pan will do, I like to use a broiler pan to promote circulation around the meat as it cooks. As a tip for easy cleanup, line the bottom of it with foil before you put it in the oven. Now, while the oven's preheating, go ahead and place your pan in the oven to allow it to get nice and hot. Now that our oven is preheated, we're going to remove our broiler pan, which is going to be nice and hot. Next, as you might be able to guess, we're going to put the pork tenderloin right on there. Because the pan is nice and hot, you can hear that sear. That is the sound of tasty. Now that we have it in the oven, we're going to let this cook for about 20 minutes or until it reaches an internal temperature of about 145 to 160 degrees. I suggest use a thermometer to check the temperature. If you're used to using the feel method, as I showed you in another video with beef, please know that these are completely different animals with different muscle structures. Pork, when cooked to temperature, will have the feeling of rare beef. So now that it's cooking, we'll see you back here in about 20 minutes. Okay, so now it's reached 145 degrees. We're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes to lock in those tasty juices. Now that it's rested for a few minutes, go ahead and cut this into medallions, which are typically about a 1/4 inch thick. Pork tenderloin will make a great addition to a small dinner party or your family dinner. It can be cooked in under 30 minutes or less from beginning to end, with most of that time spent in the oven while you do whatever you want. Are you looking for something that is both healthy and tasty? If you are, look no further, because we have you covered with this incredible pork tenderloin. We're going to use the cast iron skillet to create an amazing flavor on the exterior and then move it to the oven. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees. It will need to go in there for about 7 to 10 minutes, just depending upon the size of the tenderloin. The first thing you need to do is remove this tough silver skin. It's this part right here, normally located on the thicker end of the pork tenderloin. And it's not bad, it doesn't have a bad flavor, it's just chewy and gummy, so why keep it on there? Let's go ahead and peel it off. I normally like to use a fillet or a boning knife, but I lost it. So today I'm going to use this paring knife, which has a nice sharp edge to make sure I can remove the silver skin without losing too much meat, because that's the real key. We don't want to lose all the meat, but if you lose a little, don't worry about it, because there's still plenty left. See, look at that. I'm removing the fat without much of the meat being lost. And you just nice short strokes with a sharp flat edge knife just like this. Again, a boning knife or fillet knife would be better, but I lost it. All right, so now that we've trimmed the tough silver skin, it's time to season it. But before we do, I just want to remind you, it's the best practice to let your meat rest at room temperature for at least 20 to 30 minutes to allow even cooking once it gets into the skillet. But we're ready to season, so we're going to go ahead and just pat this dry with a paper towel. And because this is a lean cut of meat, it's not going to have a lot of natural flavor. It's really important that we season it liberally. So here we're going to use some of our JoJo Rub. It's a simple rub we created, and you can find the link in the description below. It's made using common ingredients found in most kitchens, probably yours too. Just going to go ahead and season this liberally on all sides. All right, so now that this is seasoned, we're ready to get it in the skillet. But before we do, we need to add a little something extra. Here I made some bacon earlier today, and I'm using the leftover meat nectar, about a tablespoon, to help season this pork tenderloin as it cooks. If you don't have any leftover meat nectar from making bacon, you can always use a 50-50 mix of olive oil and butter, no more than about a tablespoon. So just go ahead and get that in and allow the pan to get nice and hot until it starts to smoke. All right, so let's get this in the skillet. As you can see, it's nice and hot, and it might not be able to fit long ways, so just go ahead and wrap it where you can. We're gonna flip it 2 times. We're gonna allow it to cook on this side 3 minutes, flip it, allow it to cook for another 3 minutes, and then flip it again. While this is cooking, I just want to take a moment to remind you that pork tenderloin is not the same thing as pork loin. They sound very similar, and yes, it is confusing, but pork tenderloin is far more tender, hence the name. Also, pork loins tend to be much larger in size, 3 to 4 pounds, where this averages about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds. So like I said, we're gonna let this cook on this side for 3 minutes and then flip it. I'll be right back. All right, so it's now been 3 minutes, so we're just gonna flip it by 1/3 and let it cook for another 3 minutes. All right, so it's been cooking for another 3 minutes, and I'm just gonna give it one final flip. Can you hear that at home? Can you hear that meat sear? That is the sound of tasty. So we're gonna let it cook on this side for only a minute and then get it right into the oven. As I mentioned earlier, this oven is preheated to 450 degrees. We're just gonna throw it in there and let it cook for an additional 7 to 10 minutes. The actual cooking time is really gonna depend upon the size of the meat. And remember, it's really more of an art than a science. You wanna let this cook to an internal temperature of 145 to 155 degrees. As I mentioned earlier, it is a lean cut of meat, and that's great for eating healthy, but that also means it can dry out very quickly. So be sure to check on it sooner rather than later, and remember, you can never go wrong with an instant read thermometer. We'll be right back when it's done. All right, so we pulled this out of the oven, and remember, one of the most important steps when cooking meat is to make sure you let it rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes after taking it off the heat. We're gonna cut into this and see how it turned out, but before we do, I just wanna remind you that whether you're looking for that awesome weeknight dinner or something for that special occasion, you can never go wrong
with this pork tenderloin. It is absolutely tremendous. Our motto at Red Meat Lover is cooking meat made easy, and that's just what we strive to show you in every single video. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up like right below or leave us a comment, good or bad. Also, remember, we release a new video every single month, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get those updates. Let's see how it turned out. All right, look at that. Great color, little bit of pink. We can absolutely tell it won't be dry. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to dig into this. You know, people often ask me if I watch what I eat, and the answer is yes. I always look at what I eat right before I put it in my mouth. We'll see you next time.